Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's RD2RD Live Show. My name is Megan Boitano, founder, owner, behind the scenes of RD2RD. And today I'm really excited to welcome back Whitney Bateson. It is her second time on the show. And today we're talking all about websites. And when I say websites, I don't mean just having an online presence. We're going to dive deeper and talk about having strategies that are around sales, bringing you new clients and making sales on your website. And I'm really passionate about this topic because it was really one of these aha moments for me as an online business owner to really realize, what is the purpose of a website? What does a website that's working, and I don't mean someone types in your URL and something pops up. What I mean is that as a website is really delivering results. And for me, it took some time to figure out what does that mean and how to implement some best practices on my own site. And I can think of no one better than Whitney, fellow registered dietitian, web design agency owner, and creator of countless amazing dietitian websites to break this down for us. Okay, Whitney, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Megan. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a long time, and obviously we've stayed in touch, but a long time since the last time we did this. So I'm excited. Thanks for the great intro.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make sure we have no issues with audio. If you guys have any comments or burning questions for Whitney, I'm going to go ahead and invite you to start dropping those in, because I'm going to be going back and forth between the questions I have prepared and, of course, making this valuable for you, which is answering your questions. All right,
Yeah.
so without further ado, let's have Whitney give us a little bit about, her background. Tell us about your background as a dietitian, but also how you ended up as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and running Whitney Bateson Digital Strategy.
Yeah. So I started out working in school nutrition in DC public schools. I was planning the menus and doing all sorts of programming, and started really having that first inkling of that I really enjoyed creating materials that were beautiful and really effective I was doing a lot of like meal pattern training for our associates, and that's pretty dry content. And when you make stuff more engaging and better looking, you really get people to actually pay attention. And obviously that's what we want, but that also ends up benefiting our clients or customers as dietitians to get our messages heard and actually understood. And so fast forward 10 years, I was still working in school nutrition, but really feeling like I wanted to make a move. And the reason that I chose this field of web design and digital strategy and all of that is because I just didn't feel that there were enough resources out there for dietitians to really get our messages out there and be heard. I'm still really passionate about dietitians helping as many people as possible. And so my way to support the profession and people in general is just get more dietitians out there being heard and seen, and feeling good about the whole process of getting a website put together, because I feel like it can sometimes be a little foreign to us, obviously, and we don't want the people that are helping us create our websites or something like that making us feel bad about our lack of knowledge, or making us feel like, they're kind of explaining stuff to us in a lower level. So I just wanted to be that resource for dietitians. So yeah, that's led me to here. I launched my agency in tail end of 2017, and actually started running it remotely as well in 2018. So I haven't really been back in the United States for any long period of time since then, and currently coming to you all from Florence, Italy. So
Yes,
yeah.
I live my, adventurous life vicariously through you, right? On your remote lifestyle. I remember very vividly us really meeting at Fancy. I think it was 2017 when we were both
Yeah.
putting our fledgling ideas out there and starting to kind of chase what was, that dream of running our own business and really doing what we're super passionate about. I feel like we really connected on, like, you had this purpose driven of what you wanted to do for your colleagues, and I had this similar passion. And it's been fun to watch you grow your business and keep in touch over these last years. I admire you so much, and that's just
feeling is mutual.
It does. So let's talk websites. So let's kind of just go. Do you really need a website, Whitney? You hear people say, you can have just a landing page or an email sign up, or you can do everything through social media. And from you, is it really necessary to start out from day one having a web presence, having a website?
So the short answer is yes, you need a website. But it is a nuanced answer, right? So on day one, if you wanted to start growing a business, do you need it on day one? No, probably not. But probably like on day 30, because what's going to happen, like, just think through like the first times you were telling people about your business. I was reaching out to colleagues and calling them and letting them know what I was doing. But then where are you going to send them so that they can learn about your business and share it with other people? It's that digital calling card that we all need to have these days. And it does so many things for you. And we'll dive into all of this in the call, but it's that digital home. It's your 24/7 salesperson. It is really that spot where people can find out everything that they need to know about your business. And it doesn't replace social media. It doesn't replace landing pages or additional funnels that you have set up or have going. It doesn't replace any of those things. It's just an additional tool to augment and support. And the same way that social media does not replace a website, they all work together.
Can't wait to dive into more about that systems and strategy. And I, agree. I think that having a website, is really essential as a business owner. And like you said, it's nuanced. I mean, when I started RD2RD, I think I had one of those coming soon pages and collecting some email addresses, and I could share that URL. And I remember drafting that first email newsletter to 37 subscribers. I distinctly remember. And I think I spend just about the same amount of time now as I do. And they really talk about scaling your business. And I think some of those systems of what are you going to do? What are you going to do consistently? I do a lot of the same things that I did when I had 37 subscribers as I do today. And I think you talk about systems thinking, and I just want to start to put that in your mind as a listener here of, I'm not going to do this early on. Yes, maybe things will grow or change, but that you're really creating systems. You're creating things that you can build on over time and starting it out, with the right things in place. So I said the word sales system a few times, and that's something that you say dietitian websites should be functioning as a sales system. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Right. So what I mean, a sales system is this automated way for you to capture leads from your website and get them into your database, into your platform or system, your software, and then follow up with them in an efficient way. So practically what that can mean and look like for many dietitians on their websites is having a booking calendar or some kind of application, more than just a generic contact form. You can have a contact form, but that's not what I mean when I say really having something that's a sales system. So having like a booking calendar that allows people to book in a call, maybe answer some questions to qualify them so that when you get on the call, you can really have a productive conversation because you're speaking to their pain points, their goals, and things like that. And it's sending them on the back end reminders about their call and all of that so that the customer is really feeling like, okay, this person has a plan. They have a system that is going to allow us to work together. And it's not just kind of like, okay, well, send in this contact form and maybe I'll respond to you, but maybe it'll get lost in email. I'm going to pour my heart out on this contact form and then maybe it doesn't go anywhere. Like, no one likes that. So having your website be funneling people through a specific process and having it be automated in some way so that as more people are reaching out to you, and I think to your point, Megan, like, we want to build for what's to come.
Mhm.
Like, even though, obviously, yeah, we don't want to pay for the $20,000 HubSpot, or I have no idea how much it costs, but like, we're not saying that you need to pay for like the granddaddy, biggest software. There's plenty of software out there that has a very like reasonable entry point for entrepreneurs getting in. But you want to have those systems in place because things are going to get busy. Your business is going to be growing. You're going to have more people coming in. You want to feel gracious and welcoming of all of those leads coming in. And the way you do that is by having systems. We talk about virtual assistants and all of those things are good too, but don't replace having good systems with another person. It's fine to have someone who, is maybe managing more complex booking appointments and things like that, but having software that's running through your business so that, and this literally has happened to me, I go to sleep and I wake up and there are calls on my calendar for people booking in appointments to, talk about whatever, services we're providing. So that's what I mean about having a system that is automated. It's allowing you to scale and it's making it better for your leads and your customers too, because they feel more supported.
Right. And I'm sure, if we're talking about, attracting and, potential customers, we'll talk a little bit more about copy and I think the words that you use on your website. But I think just to kind of put it in context for people, we can talk about websites as kind of this thing, but I want us to kind of stop for a minute and just think, and what does someone who we want to book with us, what are they really looking to see when they arrive on our website? What is it? What do they want to feel? What do they want to see? You've built many dietitian websites, and kind of to talk us through a little bit about, peel back that for us so that we can go, oh,
right.
I kind of see what you're talking about right now.
Right. So I think the first thing, and it maybe sounds too simple to some people, but your customer wants to see themselves, like point blank, period. They want to read the copy on your website and they want to feel like you understand them. And so the best way to get that point across and to do that is through the copy that you have on your website. And a lot of times I use the analogy of like dating. So if you were to go out on a date with someone and you're having a conversation and they're just talking about themselves and they're not saying anything that remotely is a similar interest, they're talking about all their different TV shows that they like, and none of them are your same TV shows. Are you going to think like, oh, wow, we have a lot in common. I really think that, this could go somewhere. Or if they start listing off, oh, I love this TV show. Oh, that's mine. I like this one too. Oh, I like that TV show too. Like if they keep saying things that you also agree with, that you've thought, that you've felt, you are just going to feel like, oh my gosh, there's something here. There is a connection. And that's the same thing that our customers are going to feel when they get onto our websites and they are reading and thinking, is she reading my mind? Is he like literally looking at what I post on Facebook and what I am saying to my friends and family about all my struggles, because this is literally what I'm saying. And once you form that connection with people, then you want to start talking about how you can help them, because then they're convinced that you are someone to trust, someone to listen to, and that you probably, if you already know this much about them and you're already like tuned into them this much, then they're like, oh, then whatever she or he is about to tell me they are selling is probably something that I'm going to want, because I trust that they understand my problem, and then therefore they understand how to solve it.
Right.
So
and I think you know what I hear you saying is that it's really focused on the visitor. I think oftentimes we think we're creating a website about us, right? About showcasing our skills and expertise, when in reality, what you're saying is you want people to come to your site and feel understood, that they're in the right place, and that you're the solution. And I think that those sound like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I think doing that in practice can be a lot more difficult than, when you're a first timer, if you haven't built a website before, knowing what you're looking at when you're browsing other sites. I
Mm-hmm.
think that really looking at, oh, how does this site make me feel if I were the customer, and really starting to dissect that down and thinking about your specific audience. I don't currently
Yeah.
see clients in my private practice anymore, but like you mentioned, waking up and having bookings, I still have very prominently, like, I'm not accepting new clients. Like, I still have a contact form, but it's very clear, and I continually get
Yeah.
messages from people who are reading my blog, and it's those same words about the content that I put in my blog and the information I have on my services page. You can see that resonated back in the contact, that they really feel that I
Yeah.
understand what they're, like, what you said in my blog or what I've said in on my page. They still feel so compelled, even though it's
Yep.
very clear that I'm not seeing clients, to reach out
Right.
anyway. I'm to reach
Yeah.
out anyway. So I also feel that it can work, it does work, and
Yeah.
I think that you made a really good point there. So I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that to hit that home for people.
Yeah.
So what can you give some advice as people who are browsing websites? I think early on I would go and I would, like, look at other people's sites and be like, you try to, like, pull all the best of and, like, smush them together. Can you give any best practice? It's good to look around for inspiration, but what do
Yep.
you recommend that people do to make that useful for them, to make it a good exercise?
Right. Yeah. That's a really good question, because it is good to look at the competition or just see what else is out there, but not view it when you're looking for inspiration as, okay, these are all the things I have to do. Because honestly, if you're looking at a site and if you Googled whatever your niche is and the top few sites appeared in Google, you should be happy that look at those sites and be like, these are great examples of what to do, and I can take some lessons from them, as opposed to thinking that you need to do all of these things or you need to copy it or it's not possible. I just wanted to kind of, like, as a side, because it can be very tough to do the comparisonitis and to feel really bad about where we are in our current businesses. But especially if you're just starting out, these businesses that are ranking at the top of Google for these terms, they weren't born yesterday. They have been around, they have been working. So I think just keep that in mind too when you're looking at these sites. It takes time, and even talking about copy and understanding what your customers really need to hear. I mean, going back to, like, when you were speaking to 37 email subscribers, you probably were having maybe a tougher time getting the words out that actually were reflective of, what they were thinking and feeling. But as time has gone on, you've learned and you've continued to hone. And I think the more we interact with our clients and be these sponges and it's tough because we're so focused sometimes on giving out the information and doing delivery of services and all of that it can be tough to also be listening in for, okay, let me keep note of this pain point that someone's been talking about. That would be great for me to list on my website. So it's not something you can do all the time, but even having, like, a document on the side that you can just keep putting in bullets. I mean, even the contact forms and the leads that you've gotten, looking at the words that they've used to describe their problems and things like that. And looking back at notes you've taken during various, like, discovery calls or calls with your clients can all help you get those ideas down. But going back to the original question, so looking at some of the other sites for inspiration, I think breaking it down into a few different, like, sections and things that you're kind of, like, playing detective about can help and keep it a little bit more objective, instead of just, like, looking at all these pretty sites and feeling like super turned around. So first I'd say, like, a headline that's speaking to the customer with a call to action above the fold. So we really want to see all websites, all dietitian websites having this. So a call to action, meaning just a button or a link, but typically a button that is literally calling the visitor to action. And depending on your business model, this can be different things. So on your site, you're not wanting to have people book calls, but maybe you want to get them on your email list, or you want to get them to visit a specific section of the site that you're promoting. So we want people to take some kind of action, and we want that headline to be speaking to the customer, speaking to a little bit of the pain points and the solution that you're offering, so that when people land, they really get a good sense of, okay, I'm in the right spot. So I think if you're struggling with headlines, which can be a difficult thing, it's like some of the shortest copy that you're going to write on your website, but like the most aggravating to do. It's like the hardest 7 words you'll ever write.
Yes.
So I think like even just scanning a few websites and seeing how they handled their headlines can help you with that. And then
that's good, because you said like you're stopping and you're breaking down what you're seeing. Okay, so the headlines and what's the above the fold, and then oh wow, on all of these websites there's a call to action, a button above the fold. You're like, okay, so that's how we want maybe to structure things, right?
Right, exactly. Like seeing these patterns, once you start looking for them on sites and you look at them in that lens of I'm doing research for my own website, as opposed to I am just being a consumer of, websites, you'll start seeing some of those patterns. And then also be looking for more copy that is really conveying to the customer, that you get them, all of that kind of stuff. So be looking on these different websites. And just what you were saying too about noticing how you feel and trying to explain that feeling like to yourself. Like, what is it that you actually liked so much about this website? Is it the branding, which branding is still important? We want the website to look great and feel like it aligns with the customer. We don't want like a dark, sterile feeling website for moms, but at the same time, if we're writing for institutions, we don't want to have pink soft edges and roses and things like that. So we want it to, hit our right customer. But frankly, the brand is what gets people to not click off right away, but the copy is what gets people to stay and actually take action. So I think a few other things is looking at how they display their services, how they talk about their services, what is their customer journey. So can you get a sense of what they're wanting you to do on the site and actually click through and see how they handle it? Oh, they're using a type form. Oh, they're using Practice Better. They're, doing some other things. So again, being a little detective on some of those different things is really good way.
I really, really, really love, and I hope my audio, for some people, I turned my mic up a little bit on the back end of the audio settings. So I'm hoping that makes, sometimes my guest is really loud or really quiet and I'm really loud. So I tweak the audio settings a little bit so that I'm matching you as far as loudness. But that idea of having that, you mentioned kind of call to action, and one of the things I see is a lot of people are building their email list or having a lead magnet, which I know we're going to talk about when you're, giving some of that copy and then having people feel like, wow, I want to get to know, I want to learn more from this person, having them take some kind of an action. And I'm curious about your thoughts on like booking a session. For me, I always feel like it's like some random stranger walking up and like asking me on a date when I don't even know them, versus saying, so, hey, what do you do for work? Like, I just feel like that's very, do you see having like some kind of a lead magnet or a webinar or a free download or something as a better value on that, homepage, and having maybe book with me a little lower as we talk about kind of a long form landing page type homepage structure? I'm really curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, because it is a little, if you're going straight for the sale, like I've seen websites where there is no discovery call, no additional thing. It's literally just either a bland contact form or pay for this session right here. And that's definitely like asking for a marriage proposal on the first date or before the date has even occurred. But I also think that there is merit in giving people options, because our customers are coming to the site. They're at different stages of their awareness and their interest in moving forward. So I think it's great to mix and match on your homepage. And you can even play around. You could, for a month, have your call to action on your hero be book a call. And then for another month, have it be a lead magnet, and just see which one gets more clicks, and see if, because obviously, if they're booking a call, they're a lot further down your sales funnel. They're close to potentially being a client. Whereas if they're doing the lead magnet, you're probably going to have to nurture them a little bit further, but maybe you're going to get more leads out of that. And maybe you find out that, hey, after nurturing them with 3 emails over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, they're booking a call with me anyway. And I ended up having better results. So I think it's fine to do those kinds of experiments, but I think having the book a call as a few CTAs throughout the site, and then also definitely having the lead magnet, because you're right. A lot of the people that come to our sites, they're not ready to buy yet. And so we want to give them some other way to stay in touch. I mean, I forget things like immediately. And so if I'm on a site and there's no way for me to kind of like bookmark it in my mind, because I'll bookmark it, but my bookmarks are like, there's like 500 of them. I will never go back to that bookmark. So I need something that's a little bit more like proactive. And so you want to, but I also want to say most people are not just signing up for newsletters these days. No. So sometimes people will just have a newsletter call to action on their site. And it's fine to maybe have that, as a spot, but don't expect that to be the way that's going to get a ton of people on your list. Having some kind of lead magnet that's really of high value. And sometimes there can be that concern about, oh, am I giving away too much for free? No, probably not. You're probably not. And it's just going to, if that person that gets that lead magnet can get a small win from that resource that you give, they're just going to be that much more excited to then move forward with you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you mentioned some of those things of automation at the beginning of, if someone is booking a call with you, that, having an automated email sequence. I mean, in this day and age, I don't know about you, but anybody I call to book anything with never calls me back. Never answers my calls, doesn't show up when they say they were going to, doesn't follow up when they're supposed to. And I think you as a business person, if you have some of those automated, where they came to your site, maybe they grabbed a free resource or they thought about booking, and they might be out looking at other people. And if you have that automated sequence that says, hey, welcome aboard. Hey, this is what to expect. Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you, keeping in touch. And maybe they booked a couple of other sessions, they're probably going to cancel those other ones because they're feeling really good about you and you're going to follow through. So I think some of that experience element, that those are those high touch experience things that, you can create with systems, right? That aren't really labor intensive for you once you set them up.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had that on my to-do list. I never got around to it, but it was, to warm people up a little bit more, deliver a little bit more value. Hey, here's a blog post that I published recently that you might want to check out. And exactly. I love it.
Yeah. Those are really great tips. Okay. Yeah. So we wouldn't be talking about websites, we were talking about websites and website inspiration on the homepage, but I think making sure that what are you actually looking at? What are you seeing above the fold? What is the headline? What is this call to action button? Oh, this site uses book a call and this site uses something else. What does that have to do with the copy that's happening later? What is the overall strategy? And really start to, dissect that down and see, across different websites. And I know me, I'm someone who likes a very, I don't want to say simple site, but without a lot of just very simplistic design, right? I'm very turned off by websites that just have too much going on.
It's become a little bit of a trend lately.
Sensory overload, right? And thinking about what is that experience you want to have for your clients? What speaks to you? What do you think will speak to them based on your avatar? All the things which I know, go into the website design. So being a student of what you're looking at. I think that's a really good tip.
Yep.
So we had a good question from Sarah, I'm not sure if it's Sarah, but about what is a example of a good lead magnet. Nobody loves this topic more than me, but I'd love to hear your ideas
Yeah.
on some lead magnets that maybe your own personal, websites you've designed, some
Mhm.
examples.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in creating something that's actionable for people. I think most dietitians out there, if you're dealing with a business to consumer kind of
Mhm.
business and not business to business, having things like meal plans or worksheets or guides of some sort, some kind of accountability tracker, those kinds of things are really helpful. But then besides just the printed form, doing an email series. Maybe you break down something over the course of 5 days and you send a different email every day. And, by the end of it, they have learned something. Maybe they've actually taken action on something. You can also do master classes. So I'll talk about my master class a little bit at the end here. Free webinars, video training series. So those are some of the ideas, but yeah, I would love to hear some of the other ones that you all that you see on both that are for sale on RD2RD and then what you put together as well.
Yeah, I think you mentioned some, great ones that
Okay.
are guides and worksheets. Um, there's plenty of advice when you look, on about lead magnets. One thing I think people don't always do well enough is really show the visuals for their lead magnet. Really make sure that you're doing a great digital kind of mock-up and showcasing that resource, perhaps the what's in it for me, like what am I going to be able to accomplish as a result of that item. That people don't know what's in it and they don't know what they're going to get out of it. So I think as important as the thing is how the billboard way, as someone is literally going by your website, it's almost like driving down the road, like a billboard, and what's going to capture their attention and go, oh wow, okay, yeah, I'm in for that.
Yeah.
And making
Yeah,
sure
I
that
think
you're
that's a
not
great
just
point.
thinking about what you're putting in it, but how you're positioning it to be grabbed, to be like this absolute must-have thing. And I think that's
Yeah.
as important as the what your lead magnet is. That's just me.
Yep. No, I completely agree with you. Yeah, it has to really be irresistible. We can't just kind of assume that, oh, it's free, so people are just going to want it. And it's something of value, they're going to want it. You have to be speaking to exactly the what's in it for me. What's the result that I'm going to get? Because we do want people to feel that they are going to be changed, even a little bit at the end, whether it's going to have a week of meals planned out so that they don't have to stress, or they're going to have a new understanding of how to read their hunger cues, or what is that thing that they are trying to overcome that you can just move them slightly closer to achieving. And also making sure that you're picking a lead magnet that is aligned with what you offer, because at the end of the day, it is the top part of your funnel. It is, it's a part of leading people down that journey to ultimately working with you.
Right.
So we want it to be aligned, and you can think through, okay, if I have people who need to get here, but they're here, what are some of those incremental steps? What do they need to have before they're even ready to work with me? If I need them to be here, what do they need to already know? And those are some of the things that you can use as ideas for a lead magnet too, so that by the time they actually do get to you, they're then ready and prepared. So,
right. And I'm sure we're going to talk, we have some questions in here about websites that you've designed. Maybe, I don't know if you're able to share a specific URL. I know people would love to see your work. They're asking if you'll be sharing any examples of ones that you've personally designed, Whitney.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, if you go to whitneybateson.com and then in our navigation, click on our portfolio and you'll see the gamut. I don't want to I want to play favorites, and yes, there are a lot. And we've really over time gotten this pretty clear idea of what a dietitian website needs to have in order to be strong. And we don't need to be recreating the wheel or starting from scratch.
Right.
And so a lot of the top sites that you'll see on our website are from our course, the dietitian website system, which can talk about a little bit later, but it really like narrows down. These are the core things that a dietitian website needs to have. And we have templates so that it can be like plug and play, but you can still customize it like nobody's business. So it still looks unique to you and all of that.
Right.
But it's kind of like, okay, you need to have these things. So let's at least make sure, give you the guardrails of like, these are the things you need to have on your website.
Yes.
So if you go over to our site, you can check out all of those dietitian websites, and they really span to like, we have dietitians who are business to business, like that are serving other businesses. They're consultants, they're writers, they're working in school nutrition, they're working in gut health, they're working in all sorts of different areas. So I think that that's always helpful too, because it can sometimes be tough to find the dietitians that are like in your niche to compare to. So
yes,
it's a good smattering.
I think a good kind of segue here, as we talked about lead magnets. And I know oftentimes you mention the term SEO and people are like, ugh, kind of cringy. But
yeah,
I want to kind of preface this by saying, in order for people to discover you, you have to be, showing up in search engine results. And I think my personal strategy with lead magnets has really been focused on designing and creating lead magnets that helps to convert those organic traffic driven visitors who happen upon my site through a Google search, right? And a targeted keyword, like ranking on the top for the term PES statements, right? Like I'm going to get dietitians. If my core market is dietitians, there's not a lot of other people writing PES statements. Okay, let's just be honest, right? So thinking about what are your target audience, are searching for, and then thinking about, right, what is that lead magnet? What is something of value that could bring them into your email list? And as my content library has grown, I really look at those content pillars, right? If I have 5 or 6 blogs around a certain topic, having one lead magnet that kind of services all of that content, which then serves to bring people into my list. And I'm not really interested in saying, wow, I had 200 signups this week. I'm really interested in finding the right person. I would rather have someone not sign up for my list because they're not right than have a huge volume of signups. So I'm kind of curious what your idea, when we talk about search engine optimization, it's great to have a lead magnet on your homepage, but bringing in search traffic, of course your homepage could rank, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, okay, that content that then creates, ranking in Google so that then you can convert those into bookings or email signups and such.
Right, exactly. And you touched on some really great topics too that I will hopefully remember to come back to. So yeah, I mean, optimizing at the beginning, you need to at least optimize your pages. I would like to see every dietitian, because not every dietitian's website has a blog on it, but ultimately in order to really get the traffic coming in, you do need to have a way to publish long form content on your website for Google. And that's usually a blog. But you don't need to like treat it like a blog. You can call it articles. It can be, it's not a personal diary like it used to be. It's a way to answer the questions that your target customers are typing into Google anyway. And instead of them finding your competitor or some answer that's not really getting at their true question, you're writing a piece of content that is going to be served to them from Google, and it's going to answer their question. And so having your pages optimized for just your core keywords, like what your business is about and the conditions you treat and all of that, that's a step in the right direction. and making sure that your website is indexed by Google and making sure that there's no errors and things like that in Google Search Console. Those are all good things. But then the next step is to be publishing content in the form of blogs. And then to your point, having lead magnets, sometimes we talk about you need a lead magnet. Actually, it'd be nice if you had like a library of lead magnets. You don't need to have a unique lead magnet, like you mentioned, for every different blog post that you put out. I have probably, 5 or 6 core lead magnets that I continue to promote in various ways. And you can embed those into your blog posts, into, when you're out there talking in Facebook groups or promoting things on social media, cycling through and putting it out there as well. But yeah, if you're bringing traffic to your site, making sure that you're not neglecting your blog posts as being an opportunity for calls to action, both to your lead magnet and to your services. And that's something that I do see missed a lot on sites and in the lead magnets themselves, is that there's no call to action in the lead magnet. So do make sure when you put together a lead magnet, you have your logo, you have a nice cover. Don't just convert a Word document into a PDF and say, that's my lead magnet. Make it look nice and make sure that it talks about you a little bit. People do want to know who was the person that wrote this thing. And then the hope is that they loved your lead magnet so much that they're like, I want more. How do I get in touch? And that's where because you don't know where this lead magnet's going to end up, they're going to forget who they got it from and whatever, it's saved on their whatever. So have that call to action at the end. And then similarly in your blog post, depending on what kind of business you're running, you want to have some kind of call to action, whether it is even to read another blog post, or it's to lead magnet, sign up for this lead magnet, or book a call. You can vary it up, have it be consistent with whatever the topic of the blog is. But yeah, I think, the SEO game, it can be nerve-wracking for a lot of people too, because sometimes it's this like all or nothing, like just, the advice out there, there's not so much advice about how to find the keywords for your pages. There's a lot of advice about like long tail keyword research and yeah.
Like your services page. And I kind of want to push back here and say, I know many dietitians who really don't focus a lot on blogging, and they really work on local referral systems, right? From doctors' offices. So what are your perceptions on if the vast majority of clients are coming from a referral network of whether that's therapists or doctors or whoever, that when you're including, let's say, a link that people are going to come to your website, is that going to be different? Should your website be different if that's how you're primarily getting businesses clients, or does the same rules hold true regardless?
I mean, generally, I'm going to say it should hold true if you're a service-based business, it's one thing. But if you are looking to generate passive income, is that what you mean? Like the differences between those two business models?
Your private practice, dietitian, sometimes we've got really in-person based, right? Insurance, perhaps, versus someone who is primarily doing online marketing, selling kind of courses and cash pay. I don't want to say that they're two different animals, but in some cases, they can feel very different, right? Has that been your experience?
It could be for sure. And I think then it is thinking about what are those best calls to action based off of the type of traffic that's coming to your site. So going all the way back to when we were talking about, do you have a lead magnet as your primary CTA above the fold, or do you have book a call? If people are coming from a doctor's office and most of your people are referrals, they're probably a little bit further down the funnel in terms of, being ready to work with you. And so you probably want to make the book a call be the more prominent call to action across your site. Whereas if you're having a lot of traffic coming from Google, those are not going to be as warm necessarily. I mean, they could be, but you may want to be having more opportunities to capture more of those people, knowing that there's just not going to be as many of those people converting onto a book a call link. So having more lead magnets that are dispersed throughout the site, maybe a variety of lead magnets, especially, for Google, if people are coming from a blog post, you want to be thinking about, okay, what do I want them to do from that blog post? Because sometimes we think people are going to come to our site and they're going to come to our homepage and they're going to scroll down it and then they're going to go to our services page and read about that. But that's, people come to our websites from all different places. They visit, Lord knows what links they're going to click in what order. So you need to kind of account for that and as many different scenarios as possible. And so if the first impression that someone from Google has is coming to a blog post, then you want that blog post to show them the other things that you do. Because if that blog post is literally, because you're assuming, oh, well, it's a blog post within my website and that person clicked from my homepage to get to that blog post.
Right.
No, they came to that blog post. They don't know who you are. They don't know that you understand them. They don't know what you offer. So you want to be making sure maybe your blog sidebar has a good description of your services and you want to have those CTAs and things like that. You want to make sure that your site navigation is clear and all of that.
Yes.
So,
user experience. So I
yes.
there were some questions about, the example websites that you had designed, but when you're hired by, let's say, a dietitian to create a brand new website, maybe they don't have one, or redesign their current website, I'm curious to hear some of those conversations that you have that really helps them go, oh, wow, Whitney's the best fit. Because I think that would help people who are either thinking about reaching out to someone, what happens in those conversations and that you think helped people decide to go with you, or that you think people should be talking about when they're considering a web designer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it goes back to, you should be having conversations about the goals that you have for the website and what strategy is going to be used by that designer to help you achieve those goals. Mm-hmm. So if they're just talking about what kind of colors do you like and what pages do you want? And okay, we're going to put these things here. I would want to be knowing, okay, these are the goals. And when I mean goals, say, I want to be increasing the email subscribers to my email list. I would like to be having more people booking strategy sessions with me. I would like to have more people showing up to calls, being prepared and not being confused about what I do, because I'm having a lot of people coming to me asking for something that I don't even offer, and I want my website to be clear. And then having them talk through, okay, having the web designer talk through, okay, this is what I do and how we're going to handle each of those different things. And you feeling confident and comfortable with that plan that, okay, they've thought through this and what they're going to do is actually going to achieve my goals, as opposed to just going through it and saying, oh, you need a website and slapping something together. And I think also, it's not like I have people that I work with, like coaches and things like that don't work specifically with dietitians. I think there's many people who do great things that aren't specialized, but I have had a lot of our clients say, I liked working with you because you get dietitians and you are a dietitian. And I think this is one instance where I would say it probably does make sense to work with someone who at least is familiar with the field. Because otherwise what's going to happen too is that you're going to spend a lot of time just kind of dictating what you want on the site, as opposed to them suggesting what's the best practice or understanding like, okay, this is how you actually see clients and all of that. And then, we haven't even really talked a lot about branding and photography and things like that, but, having even the right stock photos that are sourced for your audience and your business. And, I don't see as many as I used to, but like the dreaded apple with a tape measure on a scale type of thing pasted on dietitian websites, obviously by designers that are like, oh, this is what a dietitian does. And, you're just going to spend more time either correcting that, or maybe you're not going to even notice or something like that. And so I think some of those conversations can be really helpful to make sure that you're going with the right person and making sure that they're focusing on these things of like SEO as well. And, do they understand? Yeah.
copy, what the words on your
Yeah.
site.
What kind
Oh,
of
and you
guidance are they
realize
going
that
to
they
give
weren't going
you?
to write any of the copy. Like we
Yeah.
put your website together, but you have to tell us everything that the website's going to say. Those two are like inextricably like together. You go like
Yeah.
you're gonna build the website, but you just hand me all the copy. You're like, what? Right. That's
Yeah.
very
And
difficult to do that kind of a
yeah.
website design.
Yeah, yeah. And then I would want to know, like, okay, if that's the case, are they coming up with the strategy of like what copy should go in each section? Or are you like literally,
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of like gives me hives to think about that.
I know,
So
I know.
yeah, that's not how we operate.
If you're being told, like, you tell me what every page needs to see and everything's going to be fine, you're like, woo, okay. So I want to make sure that we can talk a little bit about the dietitian website system because we are running out of time. And I know next week you're hosting a masterclass where you're talking about more about websites, and I'm sure we'll give way more insight as well. But that one of the things I think you mentioned is that you've done this, like you've designed a lot of dietitian websites. And so thinking about how can I take what I know and create, a nice cozy cocoon of support around dietitians who want to do it themselves, but need a little bit of boundaries and support. So Wayna, tell us about the dietitian website system and then be like, what kind of dietitians are really best fit to like take on the DIY element? Because I'm just curious, is this for everyone?
Right. No, that's a great question and a great point. Yeah. And I want to make sure that the right people get into our program. So yeah, the dietitian website system is a 4-week live course. So we have pre-recorded content, but we have a live component with office hours and all of that. And it's helping dietitians get their website up on WordPress. And so we include, we install all the tech for you. So I have my developers on call throughout the entire course, but we're setting up your WordPress. We have those website templates that I mentioned that are fully customizable, and we're doing it in Divi, but we also just added Elementor for the next cohort. So we will be offering both of those builders.
I use Elementor.
Yes, exactly. So it's both very user-friendly. You can move things around. It's a great way to work with WordPress. But we still set up the initial like layout for you, so you don't have to be worrying about that. Then we have copy templates, copy coaching. We have some brand templates for you if you don't have your branding set up, guidance on how to source photos, our favorite stock photography sites and tips on all of that. We go over SEO. So we really and like you said, it is this like cocoon of, giving you all the templates, all the tools, and enough support that you don't have to feel like you're figuring it out on your own, but also flexible enough that you can make the site your own. And I think two things. Our students have said that one of the biggest things that they came out with is just more confidence in their business and obviously in their website. But I think your website is this extension of your pride and your confidence in your business. And when your website is really set up correctly and you're proud of it, then you are just a better business owner. You're going to market yourself more. You're going to feel more confident on calls and things like that. But the other thing is that you going through the course, because you're getting these templates, you're getting training on how to modify the templates for your site. You're going to know how to continually modify your site. It's not like you're stuck with this one design and you have no idea how to change it. You get lifetime access to our videos. So anytime that you want to change things around, add a new page, hey, you're adding a course, you can pull out one of the templates and, start it all again, start another page. So I think
that early on you have this like black and white idea that a website is you either hire it out or you like do it yourself, which I think in reality and in my own experience, there's certain things I do on my site, and then there's certain things I just don't do on my site. And that it hasn't been like, because this is what somebody told me, but it's over time of what am I good at, what makes sense, and that
what do I enjoy doing?
Exactly. And that there's a certain, that going at a completely DIY website, having built a few websites, having had help, that's a huge undertaking that I don't think dietitians who haven't done it before realize, and some of the things that you mentioned, like page templates, like the install of these things, having like a developer there who, that stuff, I don't speak that language. It's like thinking you're going to learn Italian tomorrow. It doesn't happen like that. So I think I'm really excited that, you put a course together that really does allow people who say, now's the time. I'm kind of, these are skills that I think I can do with support. And in 4 weeks, I can have my website launched. And I think this is awesome that you put it together. You have great, people have used it. Go to the portfolio page, check it out. And Whitney, I just, I know we're going to run out of time here, but I want to make sure people who are kind of like, I'm like about thinking about redoing my website, or I think I could learn a little bit more about website design. There's a link to your masterclass. People can go register for that. There's a few options next week. On the 27th, I think. So get people in there, learn from Whitney. She is a pro. Go check out her work and register for the masterclass.
And the masterclass will really dive into a lot of the things that we talked about today with really practical, like tactical tips. And like, I know we didn't get into a lot of action items necessarily today. We just had too much fun talking about all of these strategic things that hopefully everyone still found a lot of value. I'm sure they did. But if you are wanting some step-by-step stuff and some more examples to really understand like the copy piece and the branding piece, then that's what the masterclass next week is all about. And also some more of the mistakes that I see dietitians making and just really how to avoid them, no matter whether you're DIYing, you're going to work with us, or you're looking to hire someone else, or, it really applies to everyone. It's really, really a great class.
Great comment here, Marilyn. Like, it is a new language, but can be learned. Like a website design program was really beneficial. And I think that that's a really important point. Like if you sit down with a tool like Divi or Elementor, and I feel like when I build a blog and I'm carefully making sure it looks right on mobile and the spacing and maybe the quote, I really feel a sense of accomplishment and pride when I publish my blogs, and that I can do this. But when I need some customization and I'm live with my web developer and he's like writing code that looks like crazy mumbo jumbo, but literally in 10 minutes he fixes something that in a lifetime it would have taken me to get done. So I think there's understanding like what is web design, what is custom development, what your website as a dietitian needs with the right templates. It shouldn't be, it's not overwhelming. It's not something that you can't get done as a, from a DIY-ish perspective. So I think encourage people to check out your masterclass. And thanks for being on the live show today. And I admire the work that you do and watching your business grow. And thank you for deciding to serve dietitians with your passion for website design and your knowledge as a dietitian. I always check out your new website launches because they're always terrific.
Oh, thank you. Well, and likewise, I mean, what you do for dietitians, it's just, I think it's so important. I see a lot of similarities in some of what we're doing lately with just helping people get like further faster. A lot of the resources on the marketplace are also, it's like, let's not reinvent the wheel. We don't need to, let's get helping people faster by utilizing the knowledge that other people have already generated and developed and still making it your own. It's all still possible. People come to you for you. It's okay if you have a few pieces that, someone has helped you get a little bit further. So thanks for everything you've done as well.
Thanks everyone for tuning in today, and I will see you back with our next episode, which I'll reveal in a little bit. It's going to be a good one.
Cool. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for having me, Megan.
All right.
Bye.